Good morning, YouTube. This is my VHI 262 and my Sony Walkman, aka the SAF-M85V. It was off of a AAA that actually came with it. It came with a bunch of AAAs, but this AAA still surprisingly works. It's an old version of that we probably recognize the brand, one of the more popular brands out there. It's an older version of it, and it still works with it. The Touch 62 is still working fine, but it has a weird button beep issue, which the white band will play over the button beeps, but briefly. Also, the test to do the same thing, too. Also, it did come with a power adapter, and I'm doing something else that's crazy. The battery component is broken, and it came with batteries, but the batteries were corroded. But they were the same batteries as I was going to replace it with, and I lost the replacement. I couldn't find which one's which. So yeah. But this thing works flawlessly. I'll tell you still. It's a nice radio. I always wanted one of these back in service. I used to actually have two others. I think technically three others, but one was a black version of this, a different model number too, but it's still the same as this. Up to the black version was immediately it was dead. The second one was dead. Actually, I used to have two at the same time, but it was the second one. And the first one had a bad screen. It kept showing a 0 and then glitching up the screen. The 0, like, instead of having 1, it had a 0, the screen was glitchy. This one is my third and final attempt. And hopefully it's third and final, just joking, not a third and final attempt. It actually really cost me $1.99. Don't tell Goodwill this, but I think I found the original price tag. They were going to charge it for $3.99, but then I found a price tag that just stuck to my hand. So I just stuck this price tag on it, and they still accepted it. The guy told me that $3.99 he wanted to charge his fee, for which I would pay $3.99 for it. I would definitely pay anything for it. I would pay $5. This was actually discounted. It could have been $7 for 50 T's. But they're moving in Bellevue. They're in Bellevue, Nebraska. They're moving. Today's the day that they are actually opening up the new store. Okay, so we see. Used to be. Wait a second. 50% off they gave me. That's super nice of them. Oh, it's a tag sale. I did not know that. It used to be $7.98. It could have cost me. But no, it didn't. But this is a pretty cool radio. It also came with another thing. It came with a little phone charger that's pretty cool. Pretty cool little phone adapter. And a bunch of batteries that looked a little sketchy at first, but they didn't. They did work. They did work actually. It took us 6 times, and one of them accidentally removed the tag off of an accident. Like I didn't know I did. Here's this one. These are all 85 cents by the way, all of them. Except for this one. This one cost me $5 because I got a claw machine, believe it or not, at a thrift store. They were doing a claw machine with all the thrifted stuffed animals, I guess, and some other junk. But it kept. If it's at $5, you can play it until you win, and it's actually a play until you win game. Like it will never end. It had won. No, but then I didn't win. I kept losing and losing until they just eventually just opened up the machine and gave me the deal's choice, and I choose that one and a bonus stuff was on it apparently. This is a pretty cool radio, I admit to you. This is my favorite radio so far. One of my favorite radios so far, besides the WX100 obviously. Because Sony, we have a lot of Sony TVs, believe it or not. Even though my TV is a Samsung, we have a bunch of Sony TVs at our house. That's what we actually had Sony for a really long time in our house. That's why I kind of like Sony stuff. Sony wide radios and stuff, but this is probably my favorite Sony wide radio by far. It's pretty cool. Also, I do like this wide radio a lot. This is pretty nice. For a 2004 model, it's very cool. See? 04. 908. April 4th, 2000. April of 2004. Or April 8th, 2004. Pretty nice radio. And it came with no adapter, but it works. I tested it and it works flawlessly. Like, I'm glad that the machine works. Because if it didn't work, oh well. It was only $2 and my grandma paid for it. I want to pay $2 for this thing than what they usually go for on eBay. That's it modded, which modded ones I had seen before. I saw one with a blue ready right. Also, I saw one with a different backlight. There's all kinds of cool things about these radios. But the only annoying thing about this radio is the clock. Sometimes the clock thing is a pain to set. That's all I'll tell you. And sometimes the screen will freak out, and sometimes the tuners. Yes, there's other things like tuner issues, and the screen will freak out on some models. But also, somebody else did have a freak out screen model, but it was actually because they were on a different language, which it could have been what was going on with that radio, but I doubt it was actually. I think it was actually a real screen glitch. Someone actually wanted to have buttons die on it, which I think that's crazy. They were trying to repair it and ended up breaking it more. Yeah, these things are infamous in a bad way and in a good way. I like this thing a lot too. I do like it, I admit to you. It's pretty cool, it has a nice little tone, it's loud. It can go all the way up to a volume of 16, both with a band and alert tone, which that's impressive by Radio Shack standards. And I really like that, how loud this fan is. This fan is out of 7 because it's super loud out of 16. Also 7 on the volume setting too. On Webin, coincidentally, because it's loud enough right there. At first I thought this fan did have tuning issues, but it was very out of volume, on the lowest volume as possible. When I plugged it in, I was like, oh, does this have tuner issues? Oh, the tuner's about to die? No, the tuner didn't die. It was actually just on volume of 1. I'm glad that this thing works, because I wanted these back in service, because I miss these things, to be honest. These Radio Shack weather radios. Because they are probably one of the coolest weather radios having a collection. Because they go off, they're one of the first weather radios that go off, besides my WX100 right there. I like my WX100. Also, I do like this thing too. I do like it. I admit to you guys. Radio Shack they did a good job with this weather radio, but unfortunately the tuner issues back in 2008 or later models. It's very unfortunate about the two tuner issues. I bet you there was a recall on them. I don't know if there was a recall on both Midland and Radio Shack. It's not a good year for weather radios back in the day. Midland and Radio Shack back in 2008 and 2011 or whatever you. 2011, I think the Radio Shack Top 996, actually Top Dash 991 in 996 it actually came out. 991 is I used to have one of those, but I shouldn't have done what I've done with it. I'm not gonna tell you what I've done with it because it makes you guys probably pretty mad with me. But this thing's a nice radio, really. I like it. It cost me the bare minimum of a weather radio. This thing was pretty expensive, but then it got discounted 50% off for some reason. It's super nice to go at the cash register. See, 50Ts, they're moving. This is not the real address anymore. Ignore this address. They were actually in 3 different stores, believe it or not. One was actually 2 different stores. One was actually a bakery. One of the buildings was a bakery. That one was a Walmart. And then the third store, I don't know what it was. Probably some random store. But I know one was a bakery called Uptown Bakery. Because my sister got a cake there on her birthday one time. And speaking of birthday, tomorrow's my birthday. For real. For real it is tomorrow. That's why I got all these ties in weather radios. Yeah, so going an update on the panel situation, by the way. Board coming soon. Between August 4th and August 8th, it's coming soon. The board's coming soon. The new board is coming soon, guys. Don't worry. And when I get it, I'm going to test it with without a ground wire because I don't need it. But I'm going to reshift my wires and fix everything. And yeah, I'm excited for my birthday tomorrow. Tomorrow we're also going to see old elevators. Not really that old of an elevators. Most of them are in that place. But the elevator I'm going to show you is pretty. There's one old elevator there for sure. I think 2 technically, but the other one's not in service that I know of. But this one's a pretty cool weather radio. This weather radio is pretty cool. Cost me what I thought it would cost me. And this is a nice radio, very. I'm not gonna test it on camera, but I did the test off camera. It does sound like what I think it sounds like, basically like a Radio Shack weather radio, but it's pretty cool. Works flawlessly. Which I'm glad that it looks flawlessly, but it was one flaw actually in it, but that's just I think it's more of a quirk than anything. A quirk is better than a flaw. Is the button beeps through the wideband and also the alert test will turn on the wideband, but it will turn off also after the alert tone. It's very cool. I think it's very interesting about this thing. It's very interesting, something that I don't even hear occasionally. But I like that radio light. Always like that radio light on those weather radios. These weather radios I hear the 262s. Because the radio light, I never see a weather radio other than one other weather radio actually does have a radio light or AC light. First Alert made one. Yeah, I believe that First Alert makes smoke detectors. Like, my smoke detector up there is the First Alert. They also made weather radios. Yeah, they made a bunch of types. The most famous is WX. I think it's 150, something like that. And it has a green light, a green radio AC light. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But this radio is pretty nice too. I like how the screen adjusts, but I think mine is a little broken. You see that? It's kind of loose. But it's pretty cool. Gonna take the thumbnail for it. This is gonna be the coolest thumbnail. And yes, I got a new yearbook right there. You see, but I'm not gonna show you anything for personal reasons. But anyways, that's it.